monkey.
You're not?
Well,
I could have swore.
The clear lack of hair should have told you from the beginning.
You know, I think I probably hit play like middle of that joke, so they probably have no idea what we're talking about. But yes, David, I do think that you're a performing monkey. You look like one and you smell like one too.
Well, you know, there's only so much you can do with that, so we'll just leave that there. I don't have to shave my knuckles. I don't have to shave my toe straps.
All right, Mr. Monkey.
Well, I've been known to throw some shit from time to time, so I can see where you're... And when I get excited, I do high-pitched screams. Like,
you said doo-doo.
I did say doo-doo.
In context of talking about throwing shit.
You're
working on levels here, man.
Thank you.
Levels.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get you to my...
The comedic genius is off the charts.
I'm trying to work on the fourth dimension of comedy.
All right, well, let's get to something substantive. David.
Yeah.
How much better do you feel 2021 versus 2020?
I feel like the veil's been lifted, dude. I really
so?
do. I feel like the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and the pythons are killing alligators, as they should be in the Everglades. And I just feel a whole lot of calm right now, and I hope you can sense the satire in my voice. It's not a lot different. Granted, it's only been a week. We'll have to give it time. Ish.
All right.
By the time this comes out, it's only been a week.
Yeah.
Work with me, Dan.
You know, I gotta say, guy, it's I expected rainbows, fairies, unicorns, and
well, the vaccine came out.
Peace among men.
Like just rainbows everywhere, right? Just nothing but everybody agreeing with one another. Like lions just laying down with
Pfizer
the lamb.
and Moderna just ejaculating rainbows into the sky.
Just optimism all over your face and a little bit in your hair. Sorry, I didn't mean to get it there. Just, it was supposed to be. Like, legitimately, the moon is in the 7th house, and Jupiter aligns with Mars, and peace will guide the planet, and love will steer the stars.
Is this a song?
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius. Aquarius. You've never heard the Age of Aquarius? Jesus, fuck, man.
All right, that's about enough of that.
Should we get into the episode? But Aquarius is a little behind. Maybe we're in the 6th house. Maybe Jupiter is just slightly askew from Mars.
David, I don't know what any of that means. It's like
have some culture in your fucking life, Dane.
If a train left C to A at 4:50 a.m. and a train left B to D at 5:15
I like to be
a.m.
You know, B to D.
How many pancakes are on the left side of the house when the cow's eating grass out front?
You forgot all the letters and stuff.
That's what all the things that you were talking about. Aquarius.
What trajectory of the angle of the smoke plume of the train is coming out, bro?
All right. Anyway, should we hop in?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go. Welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction podcast number 25, the second one of 2021, found at wmdpodcast.com/25.
Or wherever podcasts may be sold or downloaded.
Yes. Send friends and family over to that website. Sign up for the email list. We keep more frequent contact there. But yeah, just... Let's make 2021 the year of WMD podcast and grow this thing to astronomical proportions, apparently off into the age of Aquarius.
Yeah, there you go. Or at least at the age of a 3-year-old.
Listen, whether we're in the 6th house or the 7th house or the 69th
I don't
house.
even, don't ask me what the fuck that means. Because
that's where you lost me.
I have no goddamn, I was just reading the lyrics, just reading down the line. I'm sure there's some astronomical fucking reason house of like the Big Dipper and Little Dipper Orion's belt.
Okay.
Yada yada.
So here's the deal. Here's today's meme.
The scoop.
And we have some things to say about this. Basically, we're commenting on you've got friends, family all over social media or in real life debating whether or not we should get $600 checks or $2,000 checks and making snide what they think are pithy comments about whose fault it is that we don't have the checks and how much the
you
checks
shouldn't
are
cash
blah,
your
blah,
check
blah.
if you make over $80,000. You
Yeah.
fucking.
And
Who would have known morality comes into monetary value? If you make a certain amount, you're not allowed to cash.
you'll have to put some meat on that bones later. But can I tie the bow on what the theme is? Can I tell the people what we're talking about?
Fine.
Okay.
Fine.
So the memes that are kind of underlaying this this back and forth, this argument amongst everybody, is, and this isn't really meme, but economic ignorance. But the meme being that, well, the government's got a printing press, so it can just print money all willy-nilly off into infinity, and who cares? Just hand us the little green pieces of paper, because that's apparently what makes the economy go, is just printing off pieces of paper. Only if you have that view of money's function in an economy can you have this debate back and forth and be so completely and utterly wrong in every way. And we have things to say about that.
Okay. Can I draw?
That's
an
the theme of
analogy?
the episode.
Can I draw an analogy?
Yes,
It's
go.
like death by 1,000 paper cuts, or death by one samurai sword to the neck. Like an amount of, and I'm going to draw this back out, an amount of punch within the dollar. People seem to forget that there's a little thing that you learn in like 3rd grade economics. Did you study economics in 3rd grade?
Not in 3rd grade, but are you talking about purchasing power?
I'm talking about just value of the dollar, period.
Yeah, purchasing power.
Right.
The dollar, who cares what the dollar is? It's what can the dollar get for
Correct.
you. And how many hours do you have to trade for the sufficient amount of dollars to get the things that you need?
Right. So like, would you want to use one punch to knock somebody out? Or would you want to use 1,000 punches to knock somebody out? I think most people would say one, right? But here's the problem. If all of your punches start weakening, you got to throw more of them to amount to the one punch man.
This analogy might be too on the nose.
Go ahead.
Aha! Got it. Go, keep going.
Bloody nose. No, I was done. I was just drawing an analogy. Like the thing is, when there's more of something, when a chick's being promiscuous, she doesn't get the same dowry as maybe someone who's a virgin. But I would argue that that's counterintuitive, because if she's promiscuous,
that's very patriarchal.
It's
You're
very
a terrible person.
Right. I am being very misogynistic right now, but I think it proves a point. It's like sometimes it's inverse to what you would think, and maybe that's what these guys are thinking. Maybe if there's more money, that it means that there's more value, and maybe that concept is what's driving them off the rails.
Well, it's why they ask, and I guess here's our overarching answer to this meme is, if you don't ask the right questions, you can never get the right answers.
Sure.
If that's all you think an economy is based on, is printing off green pieces of paper that the government says you have to use, and that's what makes the world go round, you're never going to ask the question, well, why may it not be a good idea to keep printing off more green dollars? Because, hey, I've been out of work. Government put me out of work for the past 10 months. I need money, so give me 2,000 instead of 6. Exactly. So, if you don't ask those questions because you don't have the basic understanding of what money is and what it does in the economy, well, you're never going to get the right answers. So, with that being said, let's launch off into the first point that we want to make about this.
Let's.
This argument in the abstract. obviously, like most things, it's falling on party fault lines. Democrats are like, oh, we're the nice ones that want to give $2,000. And on this one instance, Trump is our ally. And then Mitch McConnell and the evil Republicans are trying to block it, and they only want to give you $600. Listen.
Which also might be kind of smart, by the way, on Trump's part.
Listen, this is hilarious on several different levels. But just for the sake of, I don't even know if it's even for yourself, of just not looking as stupid as you sound, do not think Nancy Pelosi if you get $2,000 checks, and do not thank Trump if you get $2,000 checks, if you're on the other side of the political spectrum.
Who should you thank, Dane?
You should thank your grandkids.
Oh!
Because you are mortgaging their futures. You just think that this, and again, I kind of forgive you for thinking this, because the government seems to have no end in sight in terms of its debt accumulation. I think we're up over like 22 trillion now.
I didn't know the little dude knew economics better than his old pop.
Yeah.
Holy shit! He's got a 401k before his father's even being conceived. Mm-hmm. Jesus, that little dude's he's going places.
Yeah. Well, with this endless printing, and to bring home the point about why you're screwing your grandkids over, and it's not just, oh well, this is an entity that's 22 trillion in debt. What's another $2,000 in my pocketbook? Who cares? Ha ha ha. That debt doesn't just magically disappear. Somebody's going to pay it. And you've created two forks in the road, or you've created a fork in the road, and neither one of them end up good for your grandkids. Either A, it winds up in hyperinflation, a la the Weimar Republic, a la Zimbabwe, a la Venezuela under Maduro, where literal wheelbarrows full of cash won't buy you a loaf of bread. You think your grandkids want to live in that world? Because that's what you're setting them up for with every time that you take another dollar and say, oh, well, who cares? It's just on the government's debt ledger. Who's going to collect? That's the first thing. The other thing is so I misspoke. Not two options, but a corollary to option one is the dollar loses its world reserve status. Now, if that doesn't mean anything to you, that's an important factor on the world stage, and arguably why the U.S. government has such an imperialistic policy. So again, if you happen to be of the left political persuasion, this should, hold some weight for you. You are concerned with the growth of the American empire because it creates death and destruction in all these countries around the world, right? And that's a bad thing. I think most of us would agree. But the reason why those wars are being fought is to maintain political structures in different hotspots around the world that assure that the United States dollar stays the world's reserve currency. And if that status is ever lost because the other countries that look to the American dollar as a safe store of value, because when another country has debt to the United States or buys debt from the United States government, what they're really buying is the faith that the American taxpayer will reimburse them. And that is pegged to the productivity of our economy. So because the United States economy is so productive, countries like China will buy American debt saying that we're going to get paid back, a certain percentage in the future. Because the American taxpayer is going to keep pumping out the goods and it's going to keep paying its taxes, and then we'll get our money back eventually. But if that faith from the other countries in the world is lost and the United States dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency, then this fancy or this very comfortable living that we've had in the United States since basically the end of World War II, where we get cheap consumer goods from all over the world, so our dollar stretches further, even though it's losing its value by the day because the government's printing too much, we can still buy super cheap goods from China and India and Vietnam and Pakistan and yada, 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 because those are cheaper products and we are benefiting off of those trade relations. But it's pegged to the dollar being the world reserve currency. You flip that upside down and now you say, okay, not only is the dollar now lost all of its value because of the printing, i.e. mortgaging your grandkids' future. Now your grandkids can't even buy cheap goods anymore because the exchange rate doesn't work. So if you want to tie your future generations to that, then yeah, complain about the 600 and take the 2,000.
Well, I mean,
just let the government print all willy-nilly and who cares?
On a vast scale, like the implications of option B right there was the moniker that we like to chant all the time is America's number one, or we're the best country in the world. Now that takes a hit too. So even if all of that didn't mean dick to you, and you don't mind losing the national or the global bank's security, credentials, like that should mean something to you. That means that we're no longer the sole, big dick on campus in the globe. Option 2, like 2,600. I mean, it's, again, pittance, but all it should do is remind you is that we should be a lot more fiscally responsible as a fucking government right now. Like, we've been spending, how long has the Iraq war that has extended into the just fucking war with all of the Middle East?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Like, how long has that been? 20 years since we were in high school, which I don't want to exactly say when we were in high school. I remember being...
Bro, it was already...
No, it was when we were in elementary school.
It was already almost half a decade old when we graduated high school.
Holy fuck.
We weren't even in we were in 8th grade when 9/11
And no one
happened.
talks about this shit anymore. When was the last time you heard an update on that war?
Yeah. As Orwell would say, the war was not intended to be won, it was intended to be perpetual.
Right. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, when do those roosters... Or when do those chickens come home to roost? Well, I mean, you're gonna need a rooster to roost. Hence the fucking verb. It's half of the goddamn name, Dane.
Yes, no,
we need more fiscal responsibility as a country, period. Go ahead.
Yes. And that is really kind of the crux of this whole thing is everybody wants to take their slice of the pie, so to speak. If we're talking about, this big giant pot that is government money, right? Everybody wants their slice of the pie, but nobody wants to tighten their own waist belt. And that's why we have this next round of stimulus that this is all being, I put stimulus in air quotes. Believe me, I use that word entirely too liberally.
I saw him do it. I'll back him up. He did the air quotes. You have, what is it? I think it was like 10, this is not the most outrageous, but because there was quite a bit of outrageousness, but like $10 million going to gender studies in Pakistan. Excuse me?
The question is not the fact that the United States government is giving $10 million to Pakistan to conduct gender studies. The question is who in the United States had their hands in that particular pocket that's getting a kickback from it. That's why the money's going there. Not because the U.S. government cares about gender studies in Pakistan.
And I think Pakistan
it's because somebody politically connected had that as a way to launder money back to them here in the United States. Very
definitive statement or stance on gender studies over there.
Okay, yes.
Let's be fucking real. Let's be fucking real. But to our ear, which is why they sell it. Which is why, again, we've said this before: the Patriot Act, the CARES Act, this, that, the other. Like They put it this way, so it sounds good to our Western ears. So, like what you're saying, it's basically laundering. It's really just money laundering.
Yeah,
it's money laundering.
Yes, on a massive scale.
Right. So they
backed up by the full faith and credit of the American taxpayer.
There you go. So it's like, oh, we sent $10 million so they could advance their ideology. Okay, go talk to a radical Islamist. You're giving them $10 million to read the book a little bit harder this time that they've been reading for 2,000 fucking years. Oh shit! We should treat them like humans, guys. Come on in. We shouldn't make them wear anything different. We should treat them like other men. What do you mean? Well, we should just treat them with respect and dignity. Fuck him. Cut his head off. Send $8 million to the other person.
Why did he get like a German accent?
I don't know.
Like an Austrian German accent.
Don't worry.
But yeah, so yes, the point I was trying to make with the whole gender studies in Pakistan thing was to tie on your point about spending is, listen, if you're going to say, all of this money needs to flow into this system because it helps people, you have to consider the fact that very few of that is or very little of that is actually going to help. And what it is, it's just political graft is what the vast majority of it is. And so everybody's like, tax cuts for the rich, and that's going to cost us $1 trillion and whatever. No, the problem is a spending problem in DC. It's not a revenue problem. You can look at the year-over-year federal income tax returns from the Obama administration through the Trump administration, and you will see that every single year federal revenues went up. More money was coming into the federal government than not. It's not like Trump had this massive tax cut for the rich, and then the United States federal government didn't bring in any more money. They brought in the same amount of money. They just printed and spent way, way more. So
like
it's not a revenue problem, it's a spending problem.
It's called a cocaine addiction. All right, the same thing is the same kind of actions are elicited by coke addicts. It's like, well, I've got a house here that I pay $3,000 for. I've got another house in a different state that I pay $5,000 for, and then my coke costs about $6,000 a month. So I had to factor that in my equation. And that's why I'm going broke. It's like, okay, so you can keep the house in the other state and just give up your coke addiction. Just stop spending so much money on Coke. Maybe we should buy Pepsi from now on, or Mr. Pibb, or depending upon your financial standards, RC. I don't know. Does RC Cola still exist? I feel like it exists, and we just don't know it. You got to ask the right people.
Yes.
You're a fucking asshole.
Okay, I had to listen.
I know what you're doing. I was buying you some time, but you could have at least elicited a little more energy into the response. Fuck's sake!
I'm sorry.
Yes, a little click from Rick and Morty, yes.
Sometimes
that would have done. But listen,
sometimes in these freewheeling discussions, I make points that I know are true, but I don't have the support for it. But now I have to. Yes, David. No, I promise you I was listening. I really was. But sometimes I make points that I don't have the immediate proof on hand for. This is where we need our version of who's the guy on Joe that looks stuff up?
Fucking young Jamie.
This is why we need
my future bandmate, by the way.
This is why we need a Jamie. Anyway, I looked up the stats for, the federal income revenue by year. So fiscal year 2021 estimated 3.86 trillion. 2020 3.71. 2019 3.46. 3.33, 3.32, 3.27, 3.25, 3.02, 2.77, 2.45, 2.3, 2.16, 2.1, and 2.52 was 2008, Obama's first year. So as you can see, I just went backwards in order of federal income revenue. And as you can see, it went up every year, despite Trump's, gracious handout and tax breaks to the rich. Government still brought in more money and still had widening debt. So if that doesn't tell you that there's a spending problem and not a revenue problem, I don't know what to tell you. You're just not that smart of a person. So quit making that argument. You are literally mortgaging your grandkids' future for $2,000 because you're hard up right now. I feel bad for you right now. I really do. Anybody that's been put in this situation by government policy should not be in this situation. But the answer is not to continue to mortgage your grandkids' future because they put you in that position. The answer is get angry and change your government. So it's not spending so damn
But you know what they're saying? Now they're saying...
It's my fault for making that point, and I'm a greedy, selfish bastard.
Well, not just that. Now they're saying that since Trump's been unelected, that this might turn into the same thing that happened a century ago, which was the Roaring 20s. That this thing is going to take off, and it's going to become the most financially lucrative time of our generation, because people are going to come out and they're going to say, oh, well, I've been shuttered down so long that now I'm going to go out and I'm going to spend. I'm going to go on the vacation that I never wanted to go on. I'm going to invest in the stock.
I never wanted to go on.
I'm going to invest in the stock that I was hesitant on. I'm going to do all this, that, and the other, and it's going to be a surge within the economy. To wit, I ask, oh, those same people that through your own machinations and through your own will were forced home for the last 9 months? So what the fuck are they really going to be spending this $600 or this $2,000 on, Dane?
Well, according to one Twitter user,
oh God,
are we buying $600 guns or are we buying $2,000 guns?
Well,
has it been settled yet?
If you were a smart motherfucker, you'd buy a $600 gun and
$1,400 worth of ammo.
Thank you. Did you have to ask the fucking question, you dipshit? Or a $200 gun and 400 rounds? It was funny though.
It was funny though. Yeah, and we want to.
It's optimism. Now that they got their side, now that the morally high ground got their fucking wish.
Right. Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's going to be immaculately great again. Like, all right.
Yeah.
But if it isn't, then we're going to hold you responsible, right?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. Don't make me laugh.
Probably fucking.
And just to remind the listener, because we've been going here for a while, the meme of this is just this kind of underlying feeling that, well, the government can just print money indefinitely and we can do whatever we want. It doesn't really matter. There's no repercussions. There's no consequences. Who cares? So give us $2,000 checks or 600 or whatever. That meme is what we're destroying here. And, we started out by saying, like, first of all, don't think nobody's going to pay it. Your grandkids will. Somebody will pay this. And kind of what David was touching on, but leads into the second point that we wanted to make in destroying that meme, is that don't get on your moral high ground and be like, oh, well, taxes or the money that the government's printing off is going to help people, right? It's people that are hurting because of the pandemic. They need $2,000, it's this is all good. This is all good. We should do this. Even if bad things might happen down the road, we need to do this to help people now.
Dang. Does $600 cover your rent?
No.
Does $2,000?
No.
Okay. So what the fuck are we talking about right now? So we're 9, 10, 12?
10 months.
How many months? 10? 10 months into a fucking pandemic that we haven't been able to quote unquote work, and you're paying my 10th month's rent? Is that what and that's supposed to get me out of debt? That's supposed to help me along the way? Yeah. What about my food? What about my water?
Well, okay,
what about my electricity?
I know,
what about this?
What they would say is that's why we should be getting more. That's why we should be getting $2,000.
Understood.
We should be getting $2,000 a month instead of.
So we should all be millionaires at the end of this, right?
Right, because that is still the underlying meme is, well, the government should just print us off all checks of $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Pandemic or no pandemic.
Fuck yeah.
Just do it, period.
And that
Universal
definitely wouldn't lead
income.
to the fall of our fucking Western society, now would it?
No.
No, not even a little bit.
Because this
actually, you know what's funny? I brought it up earlier. We've probably spent that much money for 20 years in the Middle East.
Oh, yeah, easily.
If we had never started that war and never signed off on it, we'd have plenty of that money in reserve.
The only bad thing about that is we're roughly 22 trillion in debt, and without that war, we'd be 21 trillion in debt. So,
oh God, no,
we'd be in
shambles.
It wouldn't necessarily mean that if we redivert, yes, from a moral perspective of rediverting that money away from bombing kids and weddings and hospitals into UBI as a moral statement, that would be a much better world. Right. However, fiscally, the things would nothing would have changed.
Not right.
So we can't go, too.
Just to go back to the morality of the issue, like that's what we're arguing about. Like the government has been more than willing to spend on foreign wars for lots of years than to spend on the American public and their well-being.
Right. And that's the point. So even taking this new stimulus bill into account, over $1 trillion, I forget what it is. It's something like close to 200 million is actually going to the American people in terms of these checks, right? The other 800 plus million, or sorry, I said million, billion to both. 200 billion to the American people and the other 800 billion going all over the world, funding our own military industrial complex, but giving handouts to countries that hate us, giving money to countries that don't have
By the
half
way,
the
those
debt
countries
we
that
do.
hate us take that money and devote it right into the weaponry to fight us back and kill our own boys.
Yes, he's referencing the Iran-Iraq conflict of the 80s. But yeah, it still goes on today. ISIS was driving around American hardware as they were taking over, and forming their caliphate.
To be exact.
Yeah. So, there's historical precedent for that point. But the point that we want to make of, this is all to help people and you're just a bad person because you don't want to help people. get off your moral high horse again, because even at $2,000, even if the government were to give you a $100,000 check, that is a pittance compared to what it is going to take from you at all levels, from property tax all the way up to federal income tax and everywhere in between. That is a pittance in terms of what it's going to take from you throughout the course of your life. And it's definitely a pittance in terms of all of these other things. The same dollar that goes in of your tax dollars, I don't know the exact percentages, but like 17 to 18% is bombing kids in the Middle East. Another 10 or 15% is going to corporate subsidies. Another couple percent is going to the police that throw you in jail for serving the homeless man a peanut butter sandwich in the park. All of these things about government that you would find morally objectionable is all funded with the same tax dollars that you allegedly, or printed dollars in this case, that you think is, or that you say is going to help people now. My question to you is a utilitarian one. Are your tax dollars going in creating more misery in the world or helping more people in the world? And just on a strict numbers basis, how much is actually going to help people and how much is going to destroying lives and enriching the rich and all that other kind of stuff that you find problematic? It's not even close. It's not a drop in the bucket what you're getting back if you're getting a $600 check or a $2,000 check.
It's frustrating.
It's not a drop in a bucket out on Jupiter.
It's frustrating.
You couldn't see that thing with the most powerful telescope floating a mile off the surface of Jupiter. How much you're helping people. So, again, frustrating. As is the case with this type of moral...
Frustrating.
What would you call these people?
Well, it's not even the people. It's just the fact that there's an argument even going around that how dare Trump or how dare somebody postpone this bailout that nobody knew about. Let's be honest. Nobody knew about this shit 2 weeks ago. Nobody had heard about this shit 2 weeks ago. Well, you knew that there might be another round of checks coming out, but nothing was definitive.
They were talking about it throughout the summer, but both sides were delaying it for political purposes.
Exactly. Yeah. But then all of a sudden Trump goes, well, I want 2,000 instead of 600. Then all I hear from the left is, fuck, can you believe that he did that? What an asshole. We were going to send $600 to everybody, but now he's postponing it. And now people don't even know what they're going to get. It's like, it doesn't, 600 and 2,000 brings me to my last point. In this COVID fucking world, it's all going to the same spot. You're not spending it out on South Beach. You're not going to the fucking Ibiza to take a pill. And when you wake up, you feel 10 years older, but it was something to do. You know? That's another song that...
Yeah, I know that.
You know that song.
That's like an Avicii song or something like that?
Well, I'm living down in L.A.
Charlie Puth or something.
Well, that's not. It's not Puth. But you don't want to be high like me.
I know. What song you're talking
I can't
about.
think of his fucking name. Help us out. Go ahead. I don't want to get any trademark definition.
Ignore me?
No, but listen.
Tit for tat, baby.
Listen, baby. No, I'm not a quid pro quoer. You'll get yours.
Yeah. So David's key takeaway is, who cares if it's 600, 2,000? You can't spend it anywhere anyway.
You're spending it on your debt. You're 8 months behind on rent, and you're going to throw all of it, and it might get you out of fucking 1 month's rent. So now instead of 8 months rent behind, you're 7 months rent behind.
Good for you.
Fucking amazing. Or maybe not. Maybe you're really 7.5 months behind rent.
Well, David. Listen, I'm not opening another Pandora's box, but that is exactly why we have to abolish private property.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. You're going to open that can of worms? We're going fishing. We're done fishing.
No, we're done.
Leave that Folgers of the earthworms alone.
So here's the thing, boys and girls.
Boys and girls. God, I love that guy. I miss him.
No matter what side of the debate you're on this subject with your friends and family, and we imagine most of you listening to this podcast
I can't
are not,
imagine you be on the side against us.
Send this episode to those friends and family who are just like super ultra Democrat or super ultra Republican and think they have the moral high ground on everything. First of all, they have to have this meme beat out of their head. Not literally. We're not
inciting violence.
We're not inciting violence.
We have to have it gently removed through coercion.
Yes. Operate like the government. They have to lose this meme that the government can just print off into infinity and there's never going to be any repercussions from that. Like nobody's ever going to have to pay it. Who's going to collect from the federal government?
I've got a quote. What? From one of our favorite movies, The Incredibles.
Go.
Like, because when everyone's super, nobody is. When everyone's a millionaire, nobody is. Because when you're a millionaire, it used to mean something. I could print off fucking paper. They could print off enough paper at the fucking Fed to make us all millionaires tomorrow. But it doesn't change the fact that our bank account would still be the same today
just
as
zeros
it is then.
Behind a one in a bank account. They could do that.
If it doesn't have any value, what's the point of it?
Right.
Thank you, slutty chick, for your dowry.
So get that whole notion out of your head. Oh well, they're 22 churning in debt. What's 24? Get that out of your head because that's how we wound up at 22 in the first place. Is that mentality? Your grandkids are going to pay for it one way or another. So it's on you to look them in the eye and be like, yeah, this is what I did in 2020, 2021. I castigated everybody else for not giving me more money.
Just like Social Security. That's a hard one to say.
And, you're getting a pittance back. And again, this goes back to ask the wrong questions, get the wrong answers. Don't just focus on, am I going to get $600 in the bank or am I going to get $2,000? Focus on how much is being stolen from you on the front end and what proportion of that is actually going to do more harm in the world than good. Ask that question, and then you might come to a better answer, if not the absolutely correct answer, is that the government shouldn't be taxing you into oblivion such that you have no savings for when something unpredictable like a global pandemic happens. You're completely unprepared. But you don't have anything in savings.
But in fairness, like let's also offer that yes, sometimes 600 and 2,000 will change your life today, and we aren't arguing against that. Yes, the mother that was worried about where the next meal was coming for her children might have something to say about this. And yes, absolutely. But at the end of the day, you have to look long range. You have to look long term. What are we doing today that is going to affect us tomorrow? Going back to the Roaring 1920s, the Roaring 1920s, what happened right the fuck after that? The Great Goddamn Depression. And I don't think that a lot of people out there, especially today when they can't stand to wait more than 20 minutes for the delivery dude to show up with the order that they couldn't be bothered to drive their fucking car to go pick up, and they're yelling at him because it's lukewarm and not steaming hot. I don't think a lot of the American people have the backbone to put up with another Great Depression, period.
Well, as the old saying goes, David, good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times.
Hard times
make strong men, and strong men make good times.
There you go.
We are in the good times making weak men into weak men making hard times phase of that cycle. And, it doesn't have to be that way. Just because history, as the old saying goes, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. It doesn't have to go in exactly that direction. And if we crush memes like this so that we don't have our neighbors shouting at us from fantasy moral high grounds of their own making and are reaching all the wrong conclusions because they're not asking any of the right questions, then yeah, the history can rhyme in a very, very negative way in the very short term.
And let's
near
do
future.
Another colloquialism.
But it doesn't have to. So crush these memes in your own mind and with friends and family by sending them to WMD Podcast.
And you know what what a smart man does?
Learns from the mistakes of others. No, smart man from his own mistakes.
Wow, you just took my own quote. You took my own quote and fucked it up for me and then corrected it for me. Oh, that is like the perfect snapshot of what this podcast truly is. And with that, you want to tell them where they can find this piece of shit podcast?
WMDpodcast.com/25. check out the show notes, jump in the comments, but also check us out on YouTube and all your podcast catchers.
That sounds good to me, baby.
Share us with everybody you know, because these memes got to be destroyed.
And even those that you don't, just throw our podcast at somebody's face when you're walking by them.
Do that. Peace out. We'll see you on number 26. Metal in your face.
Bye-bye.